this point in time, nobody is online.
Hmm?
At this point in time, nobody is online, so
Yeah, I don't think you need to.
I don't have to share anything. It's
I don't
make
think
make
you
it so much
should.
easier.
That's such a pain.
But they might want to record it. No, I don't know. Never mind.
Hi, Volker. Can you hear me? It's Mackenzie.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I can. I just wanted to make sure we do want this recorded. So,
Okay, because I don't have a professional microphone, so
um,
I can only use the built-in stuff from my laptop.
okay. Well, if you could just keep the recording open, then we'll see how the quality
Okay.
control is afterwards.
Awesome. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you. Have a great meeting.
Awesome. I would say let's get started. This work group meeting, what we would like to discuss a little bit is the status of our TCO. Before we doing it, I would like to give a short intro to all of you guys that you just know what this is all about. When we talk about total cost of ownership, at this point in time, we're just focusing in the first place about costs associated with porting software. There are different scenarios. I think even in the future, we can think about more business model and so on, but focus was really software porting. Just to give you a short intro, focus here, right? So what we see right now is everyone is developing a software asset, right? We're developing software components all over the place. We have our planners, we have our perception, we have whatever, tons of software components we put into our software asset. Then also what we did yesterday, we have our data flow, our data structure, our data behavior, how we want to connect all these nice components to each other to have a working system under at least verified conditions, I would say. And now what we do next, after we have our nice software asset, because I cannot just set it like that, I have to do some kind of a multi-program deployment, at least in most cases. Even if I'm a pure software provider or a system provider, usually have more than just one program. What does it mean? I have to bring it all down into a physical chip. If I have the chip, usually what is coming next? Customers ask me, we heard that today about Fisker, trim levels. Oh, I need different trim levels. High, mid, low, whatsoever. So this nice, beautiful software we have designed for a particular chip now needs to be shrinked to have this scalable platform, or I would more call it cost optimized platform, because for software it's just pain. We're just doing it because we are forced to do that. And what else could happen? Could happen that there's maybe a complete new platform, a complete new device, something out of the moon, where we have to transfer our software to. Other opportunity is maybe we just have to integrate software. Maybe the tier 1 becomes a tier 2, and we just have to port software, maybe entire modules, maybe just part of our modules into a new environment. And this is all about what's going to happen. Big question is it easy to do? Are there any challenges? The good thing is there is an enabler for that, hardware agnostic software. So I think problem solved. No issues. And no worries, not my kid. It's just our neighbor kid. No, just kidding.
Why not yours?
Just kidding. So obviously, even I have been out to a few SDV conferences, and my impression is there's no problem. Tons of solutions out there. Everyone's having a solution. It's hardware agnostic and middleware layers and so on. No problem at all. So that's why we're having this talk, why we're having these issues, right? So that's why for me, it's more like, a few moments later, we just identify there might be some issues, right? And I just want to give you some examples, what we have, or even based on my own experience, what we're seeing in the industry. So we have a lovely ONNX, standardized open source format for defining our AI network models. The idea is cool. I can use all the different frameworks out there. I put it in ONNX. I can deploy it to GPUs, to NPUs, to CPUs, everything is out there. I can just deploy it. Easy. It's awesome. And I can also use OpenVX, OpenCL. So underlying base, I have my hardware, I have my OpenVX layer on it. I can program everything in OpenVX, and I can copy it from one chip to another chip. So again, we have it. We are hardware agnostic. It's no problem. Beside this one, unfortunately, if I have my ONNX, let's say for TI, do you really believe if I just take it as it is and bring it to an umbrella or to a Renaissance, it will run? Hell no, I won't, because there are certain features are not supported, certain quantizations, certain data flows I have designed, they're just not supported. Or if you look to OpenVX, so maybe some of the OpenVX features are not supported by a certain chip, or we have these guys out there who are in favor of their own proprietary standard. if you take a TI, they allow their Eve DSP cores in their Eve language. I haven't seen that Eve as a standard. It's not OpenVX. It's an extension to OpenVX. And as soon as you use an Eve command, it won't run anymore in the renders. Or even if you think about you need an FPGA or something else. So what we see out there are definitely issues. Other topics is ISP. I love the topic of ISP because everyone is telling me my chip is equipped with an ISP. And when we look into the ISP, we see common blocks, auto white balancing, HDR processing, tone mapping, whatsoever. And everyone is telling me I have it all and it's fully configurable. It's great that this is the case. If we look underneath the hood, what is going to happen in the dynamic behavior of my software, sometimes I'm seeing that everything is single-threaded. So data in, all the processing pipeline is running, and then one output. So I have just one memory access. Then I have other chips where in each of the stages, I have memory accesses. Image coming into the memory goes to the HDR, going back to the memory, coming back into the ISP, doing the tone mapping or doing a gamma correction, going back to the memory. I have only memory-to-memory copies all the time. And this is a big variety about different vendors. So obviously, my dynamic behavior is affected by it. And as I said, I come with my software designed, validated for certain dynamic behavior, and now everything is screwed. And there's also even, if we look more even inside of the ISP, another very funny example, there are chip vendors out there who are providing ISPs even for for these nice cell phones, and then bring it to automotive. For video perception, we have really to go into details just to get the last single bit out of our images. Sometimes even the stages, they are connected. Some of the stages have a 10-bit output, but the next stage requires a 12-bit input. Isn't it funny? It's coming off from one company, one ISP block they just bought or designed by themselves. And then I'm always asking, what do you want me to do? Oh, you just do zero padding. So I just add zeros to my data stream. It's awesome. Huh? So it's waste, complete waste. But this is what we're seeing in the market. And this is then also the problem that my dynamic behavior, memory consumption, memory bandwidth is affected. It's not like I can just copy my ISP settings on software, put it to the next chip and say it's done. Unfortunately, it's not. And last example is if you change chips, for sure, you have a different development environment, you have different drivers, you have different debuggers, different tools, your data logging might be different. So there's a lot of things around the pure software deployment, what you also have to consider, including training of your associates. So obviously, it's not like I just copy my software to a new chip. Obviously, it's not that easy. If you start with that, right, summarize all the different use cases, at the end of the day, I think we have 4 use cases. One is we use a new SoC within the existing family. But even the funny part is why I'm saying the new SoC within the existing family, because as I mentioned earlier, we need a scalable platform. In the past, whenever even I had to answer an RFQ, we always ask our chip vendors, oh, please, we need a scalable platform. Why we have done it? Because our cost from deploying our software from one chip to another chip was and is very high. That's why we try to stay within the same family. Is this always the best solution in terms of technological fit to the requirements of the trim level? Often this is not the case. Sometimes maybe you want to take for the lowest trim, maybe vendor A, for the mid trim vendor B, and for the high trim vendor C. But then everyone is going crazy and say, oh my gosh, this complexity, this tool, this software adaptation, it's blowing up. So that's why more or less what we're seeing here is an outcome that is trying to mitigate our software porting costs. It's nothing what we came up with that oh, we would like to have it. It's just have none of it. So the second part is then for sure successor SoC, same vendor, but successor, the next successor. The good thing is when it comes to software porting, it's rather easy for us because we know already all the pitfalls from the existing generation. So to port our software to a successor chip is I think, rather easy, but requires a little bit more effort compared to if I copy software within an existing family. So the overall the effort is a little bit more. And then one with the highest complexity is if we have to go to a complete new platform. Let's say maybe you have worked on an FPGA-based platform, and now you're working on a DSP, or you're going from CUDA-based to non-CUDA-based or whatsoever. This is always then the biggest effort we can think about. We have to deal with, and then for sure we have the software-to-software integration. Obviously, this is something in between. This really depends on the use case. But this is the entire, let's say, ecosystem we have to deal with. And the whole idea of our working group was, first of all, to make people aware. So the first goal is awareness that there are cost drivers when we talk about porting software. The entire vision of our software is always hardware agnostic, and we have standards. Yes, partially true, but obviously we still have issues in the industry, and obviously we're still spending maybe too much time and too much cost in this type of activities. So first of all, it's awareness. And the second point is to find out what is the perspective of other people in the industry. Because even in the working group, we're just kind of small. We see common problems, but we would like to outreach to or to reach to all the other people in the industry just to get their perspective on it, to see, do they identify the same issues at the same spots? And maybe do they know certain measures? So that's why we created a type of a survey. We started. You showed it yesterday, right? We started with a very, let's say, comprehensive version, very detailed model. But we realized, oh, maybe it's from the technical perspective a little bit too deep, too hard to understand. And two, if we send that out as kind of a survey, people might want to skip it because it will take maybe 3 hours to fill it out, and maybe I have to sit next to them just to explain them every single line. So that's why we just said, okay, we have to make it way easier, and then finally conduct everything into an easy survey. What we are trying to send out to the industry, send out to you guys over here to ask for your participation. What is the outcome of it? So why you should do that? So first of all, as I said, it's the awareness. But we have, for the people who do standardization and other consortiums, we have the opportunity, first of all, to connect with AVCC, just to see, do we have a common problem, and how can we address them together? Because just to say there is an issue, nice, but what could be a potential a measure for it? And maybe some of the folks out there, maybe they have a measure, but maybe they are just not known, not visible to the industry, as we did yesterday with the ISO, maybe known by someone, but not adapted by the industry. So this is the big question, how we can adapt maybe potential available measures. But also good for tool makers or other software companies. If they have potential solutions, they should come up, they should present it even to us, and then together we might can promote a little bit more of the standards. What is it for the chip makers? They can understand our problems we are facing today, and they can just improve their software. So it's on them if they want to adapt to standards. They have chosen not to support, for instance, every OpenVX feature. They have chosen not to support ONNX models. It was their choice. We haven't forced them to do that. So, but if they get a better understanding, what does it mean not doing or not being compliant to a standard, that they just increase the cost, and also therefore they might have less market traction. I think it's also good for them to understand that. And then for OEM or tier 1, tier 2, whatsoever, for us it would be a tremendous cost reduction. And cost reduction means we focus on real USPs. I would like to focus, or my software team should focus on what really matters. And I think all of the small nitty-gritty issues of porting software is not what matters. I think even with this, I do not give value back to my customer. And this is my biggest concern. Because in your time with Fisker, I think you're not willing to pay me just for porting software, right? You want to pay for the content of the software, what the software is capable to in your car to enable features, but not for just a pure porting. And this is something what we would like to address. And that's why we have put out the survey over here. I also want to be kind of open here at this point in time. This is something what we should discuss here is we need a little bit more, let's say, attention to the survey. We haven't received a lot of responses. So we have sent it out to all of the participants, all the members in AVCC. I have presented it very, very brief in SDB conference. Be the last speaker after 25 talks, forget it. But the overall, I think I just checked a couple of minutes ago, we just have 8 responses. So I think the first measure should be that at least everyone who is in the room here, and then plus the people in the other room should do it. Anyway, you have to do it because I already called our security. They won't let you out. So we will take you hostage until you have done it. No, I'm just kidding. But this is a problem, right? So in the industry, we see issues. I think some of you guys might say, oh yeah, part of that, we also see that in our company, but we can only address them if you give us enough feedback. The benefit is the entire feedback will be shared. It's not something like we take it and then we take full credit of it. No, at the end of the day, there will be a report. So we will share all the feedbacks. Everything is anonymized. So you want to reveal your company, your name, or whatsoever. So we have taken all the precautions, therefore. But you will see what kind of problems are reported out of the industry. So it gives you a wide range of issues, but also then on top of potential solutions. All the papers that are generated out of this are published on the AVCC website. You can have access without being a member. So from that perspective, I think there's only a win for everyone. The only thing what we need is 30 minutes of your network's attention. So that's why I would like to appreciate if maybe then this survey could be maybe then broadcasted within your network, because as more feedback we get, as better the response and derived measures will get.
Any issue right now on LinkedIn?
This is the only thing. They haven't pushed it out to social media. They will do it, I think, today or tomorrow. Because they just said they want to do it after this small conference over here, because I think they have been asking since weeks for that, because at least for distribution, it's the easiest way. Yeah. But
we probably have got pretty good networks on LinkedIn, right? We can get out there.
But I think also it might require your support, even if you can then just share it with your network, because even if we just putting it out on LinkedIn, I think each of our workgroup members, we have a certain reach, but compared to the reach of all of you guys, it's nothing. So that's why it's not important.
Would we have time to work on it a little bit together now? I always say that I'm going to do it, and then I go somewhere and I forget about it next time.
So we have so much time allocated for that topic today. I even don't know how to fill all the time. So for sure we can do that.
Right, even if we went through the questions together, we all answer differently, but we can understand the questions.
That may be a good exercise, Oker, if we just, you can pull it up on your devices, whatever you have, and then we can pull up the questions here too, and if there are people wanting to clarify the questions, that may be a way to go. What do you think?
Yeah,
let's do that. Do you want to pull it up as well? So did everybody get the QR code? That QR code will take you to the survey, right? So if you just take up, just point your devices, I'll take you to the survey, and then so you can fill it out live. It will. It's not going to show up here.
You guys put 3 things in. Right? First one is standardization. So the bullet 2 and bullet 3. From what perspective are you looking for? Because usually the OEM and tiers are a result of the chip makers. We don't never initiate anything other than features, right? And the chip makers come and tell us, "Oh, this architecture is going out of production. You got to port to this one." From my perspective, OEMs we base on functions and features. We don't tell you what chips you use and what kind of hardware you need.
Let me,
Yeah.
to start this discussion, can you give me 5 minutes? I can draw something on the board. And I can give examples what some of the innovative OEMs are doing to solve this problem.
Definitely. I'm always interested in solutions.
And
Yeah.
This would be interesting because not many of you may know, but, or maybe know already. But
But we have pens over here, there's like one over there. I hope they're all working.
so when OEM say start decide on a new car, they see all the features. Should we take ADAS or infotainment or whatever? Say ADAS. I'm just taking it. Say they give a RFI, it goes, and then from tier 1, they say proposal comes. Okay, we have this option, this box. Okay, we'll say for low end, mid, high. Okay. Okay, by the way, we have everything, all the features and all we can support. We need this extra sensors along with it. And we have the full software that we already validated. But in your environment, we need the EDMD added, supporting the software. And by the way, this is your requirement. We can meet on this range, say dollar this, dollar bomb, right? That's how it comes, okay? From OEM, and this is from, say, tier 1. From, say, if you look down, at this moment, they will do mention the what processor is used and what are, the capabilities and all those. But then tier 2, the chip, right? Per unit price of chip is basically given here, and that will make the board and the box and the whole mechanical structure, and this is a black box to you. All good. Then it goes in production. OEM has to validate low end car separately, dollar. Validate mid car separately, homologation, EMC, all these other goodies, dollar. High end, extreme case, data collection, everything I'm talking about, it goes on, dollar, or whatever you say. That's 1920s traditional model in this new age space. What is happening now is a little different. So what is happening is that I have this car. Okay. I don't want to distinguish. I want to distinguish from software low, mid, and high, only from software. So the software split will be feature set. For low end car, I'm going to give this feature. For high end car, this feature, and that's how I do. Okay, low, mid, and high. Software. Software means through variant coding, depending on the variant side of things, you do the flag 1 or 0. That's how we are the software side. Now, there is another school of thought that has been implemented before, is you take high end, depending on how much is the high end, say, I take the high end, I validate everything, dollar, I spend it for one version because it has to go through all the other climate to everything, right? I validate this, I'm done, and I put it in every car. Every sensor, everything is in every car. But through software, I do this. When they say low end is the basic safety feature that has to be homologated and launched with the car, it's no questions asked. You cannot charge money for that. What you can charge money from customer is for maybe some part of this feature, right? You're getting money from the customer, which means that now this amount goes one time only. The ED&D from tier one, you know how much they're charging to port the software and all to this car, you are spending one time money only. And then you are validating the whole vehicle with everything in there. One time, okay?
Hardware?
That's the hardware.
Pointing, that's the hardware.
Yeah, I'm talking the hardware. And then what happens is that now I'm significantly dropping my cost of putting crash testing 50 vehicle of low, crash testing mid for 50 more. I'm significantly reducing my money. So pure software wise, you think that from the BOM side, it will make a negative business case for the low end car. I do not know how much is the BOM, but I'm just saying you have to do the calculation and see, okay, I'm making a margin, dollar amount, say $500 on this for the low end, but I'm making $2,000 here from customers. I'm basically spreading across that. My cost, my headache goes away by simply doing it in this way. This has been implemented successfully in 3 different OEMs I know.
The question is, have you ever seen it in large scale OEMs?
No, I'm talking about, don't say large scale, I'll say traditional old OEMs, yes. I haven't seen that. They haven't
They
done.
cannot do that.
They cannot,
But they're very price conscious.
yes. They're talking about purchasing department rules, right?
Now, also, see, let's talk about the big 3 here
Yeah,
around us,
they
right?
have-
They would even have not the organizational structure even to do all the TCO calculation,
Yeah.
because this would involve 5 different departments who
Yes.
do not speak to each other.
Yeah.
So even if you're right,
Yeah.
that they understand, will take forever.
I know.
And
But
us on
Tesla
that,
does that.
Hmm?
Tesla does
Tesla does this way.
Tesla does that.
they built a new car from Ghana. They have complete different organizational structure. Yes, I admit that they do it, but if we're selling millions of parts to non-Tesla car manufacturers, and for the next, I would even say decade, they are still prisoners of their own organization,
That's
and they will still ask us for, let's say, low trim for me is to fulfill NCAP.
Yeah.
They will never ever
Mhm.
put the highest cost hardware in there, even if the entire calculation maybe it would be a positive business case, but they won't do it. And
Because they
another,
don't have pricing power.
yes, and but there's another aspect here.
No, also another thing, sorry.
Sorry.
I'm not talking parking features, okay? That's a separate issue.
Yeah.
So,
But also here, even for customers who have this,
Mhm.
the software, either you do everything by your own, then it doesn't matter. But if you buy a software, for instance, for me from Bosch,
Mhm.
and you're telling me I have to go to this hardware, but maybe I'm working on a different hardware.
No, not hardware. You give your hardware. I'm taking your hardware. You are not doing anything extra.
Yeah, but there will be.
But you are making money out
But
of
at
this.
least one software supplier will be out there who will lose his hardware because we're going to central processing. So there will be certain people will lose their hardware.
Mhm.
So they have been maybe working on chip A and now they have to go to chip B. So
Because as an OEM, I don't care. I'm going to you. I'm not going to anybody else. You are telling me you are giving a TI processor or NVIDIA or whatever. It's on you.
I think you care because your car needs to be equipped with a huge hardware to be upgradable over a certain period of time. So you will go to, maybe you even go to even not to me, maybe you go to a just print to design vendor. You maybe just go externally, just buy the hardware from someone else, and then tell all your system people you have to bring your software to this device. Maybe you just go there and say, hey, I buy hardware with 3 NVIDIA Orens in. Do your software on it. Bosch, Conti, Magner, whatever. I want your software to have it on this device. And so this porting topic won't go away. It might get smaller over time, but it won't go away.
No, it's even more complex. Because the other one I showed you in the picture today, right? The whole idea with the blade concept is Today I have TI here.
Tomorrow.
I flip it, same design with the new chip. I flip it back
Even
in.
time to
I
market.
upgrade my car into more. So that's the only way that's practically possible to go ahead with it. Software problem will never go away. It's going to be even worse because so many updates, there's so many complexity. New processor means new architecture, means new software stack.
Or this
And portability of software, wherever they say, oh, our software is portable across this.
It's a big lie.
He's an operations guy. He's going to say what it is,
I wouldn't phrase it like this is a lie because I think we have all.
It's a big sale. How about that?
Sale.
Sale. Huge sale that there's no cost to port our software. That is not correct.
Is that part of the survey though, that you're trying to get from us how much it costs to port the software? I don't know, I've only got the question.
No, we haven't asked for real costs. We're just asking for problems, where people see the problems, and we have just broken it down to different areas like safety, security, hardware, accelerated software, AI software, so the different fields. And then we just trying to ask abroad if you see a problem over there or not, just to see, because we identified certain issues. What we identified is nice for us. We have to see if everyone else has the same pain point. Otherwise, we can just come to the conclusion there is no pain in the industry. That's why we just asked to confirm pain points. And if there are other pain points, please bring them up. This is what you see in the survey. And then we also ask for potential measures, how to close them, how to make this kind of porting, let's say, easier, because at least for many traditional tier ones, as we do a lot of software porting.
So for me, I mean, here, the new technology features, we're talking about ADAS and all that. This is all I call the last 10 years. This is becoming a big emerging technology. But what's happening is, if you think about a car cannot just be, oh yeah, ADAS is separate. It's all intertwined with the existing car. When in my car over there, this we have 99 modules, out of which only X number of modules are high tech. Rest of them are manual updates. You can't do it. And then these are the big legacy modules. Talking about the Conti and the Bosch's VCMs. They're very old technology.
Yeah.
Very bad architecture technology that hasn't changed. And then you have the safety modules from Takata, Autolead, all those modules are. So nobody is upgrading any of those modules. Those modules have been stagnant.
Yeah.
Extremely stagnant.
Now, we're only looking for autonomous driving part, all the legacy
part.
part.
You're looking for autonomous driving.
We don't
part,
care.
But the problem with autonomous driving part is it interacts with steering and braking. Those modules have to be high tech.
Yes, they are high tech, but even what we see is, but this is where all the work is in, right? If you look to the amount of AI, for instance, we're using for doing video perception, radar perception, lidar perception, whatsoever, right? It's still a pain point for us if we have to port our software to a complete new processor. So even if we come to you here with dollar signs, and not because we want to get rich. It's more like, oh, we have work to do. And this is for us, it's just pain. And this is the problem what we would like to address in the industry, that we have to overcome this pain because we do not want to charge that much money. Because even for us, it's a non-profit. Just the software porting is a non-profit. We get money, we pay our engineers of doing it. But we don't create value at this point in time. These engineers cannot work on improving the AI network, to lifting the KPIs, to develop new features for you. They can do it, but this is in the next dollar sign. We have to do that in parallel.
And this is the braking and steering have not made it that much improvement. It's the same old traditional braking system, traditional steering system.
But the big improvement is in between, right? So the big improvement is in between, in the perception, in the behavior, in the planning planner. We have to tell what the steering wheel needs to do. Yeah. And there's all the intelligence in, right? So for 10 years, 15 years, we have been happy to keep our lane. In the meantime, we do so much more, automated lane changing and so on, urban scenarios, traffic light detection and so on. And this needs headroom. This needs a lot of technology in the cars. And there's more technology we add to our cars the more painful it gets if we have to do porting and if the porting is not efficient. But this always means someone needs to pay for it. Or we have a long-term lock-in to a certain processor. And this is what I think the OEM doesn't want, a long-term lock-in. And or we as tier one do not want to have a long-term lock-in to one processor. Because it's always nice to stay within the same family, have the successorship, but this makes no fun because maybe there's a disruptive.
You have to recertify the whole car again, every time you change a chip. I mean, see, you talk about homologation. See, the homologation piece is
But it was the argument, right? It was the argument. You have this blade concept and the disruptive technology coming in with way more horsepower, which enables the car to be so much better. I think there will be the business case even for the OEM to do it, if possible. But it also means the software needs to be adapted.
He's talking about zonal hardware, you know, I mean, with a blade concept.
Yeah, whatever you say, you have to rehomologate.
Exactly, yeah.
And homologation is not only about this. You have to do it because you're making considerable change and they will flag it for rehomologation.
Or you gotta white paper it, somewhere you gotta document.
You have to document everything because your hardware version number changes, they document everything. So it's a very complicated thing. They have to review. Then they'll say, oh, okay, we have to do homologation. Or they say, okay, the change is not that considerable on the performance of the feature according to the data that you uploaded. We may write it off or whatever. It all depends on the features or what are the requirements. But you have to do EMC. You have to do the whole gamut of the other part of the NVM and other.
Well, let's say we can't get around it because we know that there's this FMVSS 127 AEB automatic emergency brake day and night. It's coming in 2029. So let's say that whatever they're doing now, we'll have to change anyway. So they can't get around homologation. They're gonna have to do it. Oh, we have to do it.
That's why they tie into a major model here. See, because you don't want to see in-cycle changes, what you're talking about, these things, standardization chips changing, you can't do in-cycle. You got to tie it to a model. Because you don't want to homologate for this one particular reason. You got to homologate for the whole new car, whole new features. That's when you lump it in that's where we do a 3, 6 year, 9 year cycle. You know what I mean? You got to get into that window.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, where it's a 6 year cycle or a 9 year cycle. If you ask for an OEM, I don't know about other OEMs, I'm talking from 2 big OEMs, Ford and or our Fisker too. We are not going to do an in-cycle big change like that. We'll do it in 6 years or 3 years. You know what I mean? Ford never does. Ford is now their cycles are 7 year cycles. The major comes in every 7 years. You know what I mean? So you want to bring in all these chip changes. They want to go quickly development. They don't want to white paper like you're talking about, unless it's a small, change that it has negligible performance. You can do the delta changes.
But they still have to let's say they switch architecture. They still.
Oh yeah. It's a brand new.
Then the Galaxy.
Then
the Fiesta. Then.
Yeah, they become so. I mean, I don't know other. I mean, I'm pretty sure other OEM people have experience with other OEM. They don't do the whole car at one time. They do the body, the architecture once, and then they do the powertrain. And then 3 year cycle. So they space it out because you don't want to jeopardize the whole car. But in this case, if the chips affect powertrain and the body, then they'll do it on a major. I mean, it's an important truck like an F-150. They'll put everything in it.
Well, maybe we could try a few questions because the questions I think are more ADAS, not powertrain, it's not steering. So it is just ADAS.
Because ADAS has the impact on the others.
Exactly.
Yes.
You're talking to several other ECUs, even though it says ADAS.
Then the HVAC control. The
Yeah,
HVAC control
for
is just
example.
not gonna.
Yeah,
change
other
that.
issues, the main issues are going to be braking, steering,
VCU
VCU,
Yeah.
gateway,
and VCU.
VCU.
Yeah.
So I'll ping the link to the survey to one of my colleagues, and she just had a quick look. She'll take a look at it in more detail. One of some really immediate feedback she had was where we're asking for person year, engineering years effort, right? When changing, when porting's happening. She she thought it might be interesting to add a qualifying question there to understand. You might need to click through somewhere.
Is it a particular question? So.
It's where in the next page, so you might have to do some dummy answers to get to the next page.
Right, effort in person years.
Yeah.
Onboarding of low level.
Yeah, wait. I have
Yeah,
to do
there's low
some.
level software. There's
$1 million.
Person years, so $1 million, 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I think it's only one, it says under 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30.
so there's like retraining of AI networks. So there's a number of questions that relate to that ask the responder to quantify effort. She thought it might be useful to have a qualifying question there to understand what's driving that porting. Is it a change of SOC? If it's a change of SOC, is it from one version of the same vendor to an upgrade of the same vendor of SOC, or is it across different vendors? Are you changing kind of sensors? And so, yeah, some kind of qualifying questions in there in terms of what's creating that.
If you scroll up, it might be there that it's integration of a new board support package and drivers adapting to new OS and or middleware. Audit RDBS, UNX, or adapting to existing operating system handle.
Yeah, as I said, so the whole server is structured into certain levels. So we start with low-level software, we go up for hardware accelerated software to AI. And in each section, we describe here what the question is all about. So here we just talked about all the cost servers that are really associated with low-level software or base software. Yeah. And then we just mention here some examples, just to avoid that people just think in the complete opposite direction. And there was a reason why we have tried to avoid all different scenarios, because earlier I showed all the different scenarios we can have, right? Same SOC and so on, just to avoid the complexity. Otherwise, we would have end up here in the multi-dimensional.
Well, I think it was just a text, right? A text field to say what's causing you to port your software in that instance, right? Is it a change of SOC? Is it a change of sensor types? Whatever the. It kind of helps to qualify the examples that you give at the top, right? So you give some examples there of the things that might change. She just thought it might be interesting to actually capture what is driving, what is the thing that's driving the change.
In the previous page that Wilfred just skipped through, or there is a question about what kind of porting do you do, right? So that question, what kind of software, right? Because there's kind of all those different types of different software, from application layer to middleware to low level. And then this is what kind of,
so you would take that and you kind of map that to.
We assume that the guy who's answering the question has more a favor to do. Oh, I'm the guy who have always
doing that.
Always doing this, so that all answers are more toward that direction. Yes. So we try to do it to ask it once instead of every time, just to make it a little bit more easy.
Survey. It is.
Every survey, technical field is kind of difficult because it's even if you write too much in, people won't read it. If you would not put less in, people starting to interpret it. But it is what it is, right? So there is no
low effort as possible.
I think there's no perfect way. We give it certain tries and got certain feedback, and I think that was the common sense.
It's just like guinea pig, right? So
I'm thinking I can give my answer and see how that's relevant.
Yeah.
Or I can challenge the question too. So you can
That's
update.
fair. That's
Right?
fair.
Right? So let's do it. Okay, go back and let's do it. Okay. So this one is multi Europe as well as US. So I have no option to select multi-geographic.
Okay, good. That's actually good.
that's a good one.
Next
here
one.
than.
By the way, others are all Japan. There is separate homologation or software because of Japanese characters and the way of. There's a big change in areas as well for Japan if you want to launch. So those are different geographical. Okay, provide your company subsector, OEM, okay, done. What is your role? Okay, done. Next one is, what type of software porting do you work with? Is everyone, everything. All, yeah.
Yeah, so I think there is an underlying assumption that, I don't know if you're making that or not as you're doing it, but I think in our discussions, we had sort of assumed that the context was you have existing software and you want to bring it to a hardware, right? And you're not really looking at new software development. I think, I don't know if that was clear.
Existing software.
Existing software to a new hardware porting.
New hardware, which could be in any of the categories.
That I had that experience with the previous OEM with Qualcomm 820 moving to Qualcomm 825. But that was only used for, so. But then also, that took a long.
But I think with the OEM hat on, I think let's try to go through it, see how.
Okay, just see how it lines up.
Well, I'll just ask you, as a OEM, do you work on the low level software and the base software?
Base software is,
Base software.
yeah, it has to. It's mostly the base software is the more tricky part of it.
Some people outsource it, some.
Yeah, we have to because there are so many dynamics because we are the center point coordinating across multiple tier ones. So you understand?
Yeah.
So the whole signal processing through the gateway and the whole DBS file is basically at the OEM. That's why when I made the video, it was not dancing because we had the only access to the so we could make anything. So okay, now let's look at a new SoC from say. Actually, once for a vehicle line, what I've noticed is that they always wants to stick with one SoC version to reduce the risk. Very big after 10 years, then they can go for the new SoC.
But this is the question, why there is so much risk in it. People fear the software porting and validation and everything, but this is exactly where we get to it. Why? Because there should be no reason.
You don't understand. Whoever has the money streams has been in the industry forever. And for him, risk adverse is the best way of doing business. That's the.
It's a mindset change, right? If you look at a new SoC with more capability being the potential path to new revenue streams because you're delivering services that you couldn't do on a previous platform, right? That's a total mindset change for most procurement departments in automotive, right?
So I want to tell you something. The new age OEMs, whatever you can say, Rivian to. Okay, I'll give you my example. 2 different OEM. My responsibility, I said, this is what the budget I need. These are the BOM targets I get. BOM targets I get, but then I can negotiate to make it higher. But the overall budget and all, ADAS, how many millions? That's you. You have to deliver at this time. Okay? It's on you. So engineering, I get to choose after talking to different technology partners or tier ones or whatever. I tell purchasing, okay, I want to have this. This is my option A, B, C, and these are the best option. And these are what I feel is what is happening. And we have a discussion. Purchasing goes ahead and starts the pricing. I never get into the pricing. I choose what I want. But that's a new age of thing. But in very big OEMs, purchasing department is sitting there. Couple of times, you have this. No, you have $500 for your part. It's on. And we have XYZ. We have certified them as our best vendor according to the vendor policy. You have nothing. We just take it and we just.
And maybe it'll come out in the survey that new SoC for new vendors may come out rarely because, for example, Mobileye is locked in hard So they have it.
But there is also, yeah,
Share.
I think there's a big thing, what is happening, I'll tell you. Do you know this windshield, right? We have a front camera module. If you have to replace, go to any company because you had an accident or say you have a, you know how much money they charge? Because you have to change, you have to have the front camera module again replaced. They do the recalibration.
Yeah.
Right, or something, depending on how complicated it is,
Yeah.
300 to 600,
Yeah.
it changes. So now, there's a new school of thought, which is going to happen, started by NVIDIA by itself, is you just need dummy cameras. You don't need that separate person to do. Which means that now, if I'm going to go with it, I'm not going to have the smart cameras anymore. Because my cost of changing the windshield is 2 dummy cameras if I have whatever. So that's peanuts. Compared to changing the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So those kind of decisions also come into play after sales.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know? It's always like there's no right or wrong answer. Every case is different. Every business case is different.
But just to clarify, the dummy cameras would be for the load trim.
No.
I
For all the trims.
Why even have a dummy camera?
not
No,
dummy is
central computing, central computing.
Yeah,
Non-smart.
sorry, not mobile eye.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, that's what you mean.
Yeah, but
Sorry,
It takes images. It's just
Yeah.
we have
in
us.
my lingo, we always say dummy camera.
Streams images.
but here's the fun part. Here's the fun part, right? The video perception we do now in the smart module is now just transferred to the center module.
Yeah.
But more like the center module maybe is a complete different processor than over there. But why should I throw away my my AI network if I have to extend my function? Yes, maybe. If I just have to do this transition, smart to dumb camera, I'm already in a software porting issue because, and here I have a little bit a different perspective. It's, you said you could just go out and say, here are my $500 for my hardware. What I see right now is that the hardware decision for ADAS level 2 and so on is driven not anymore by Bosch. It's not only that we go there and this is our hardware.
No.
They have now chip makers and OEMs that goes together, and they're telling us, hey Bosch, you can produce a hardware if you can make it cheap. Otherwise, I go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So it's more it's getting kind of tough for us right now.
I know.
So that's why
So
it's
many
more
companies
dictation.
who open shop in Mexico.
Yeah.
And they're making amazing hardware quickly.
But see, that's why my software needs to be running on each and every hardware, because I do not want to just depend on this one hardware. And even maybe, let's say, example, this car goes for this big NVIDIA box,
Yeah.
but maybe tomorrow it's a big umbrella box. Maybe 3 years after it's the Halo box. And I also agree what you said. You go in these 6 years terms. But what we're seeing right now is if you are, let's say, let's for GM, these guys, they have already programs out there. They have cars out there right now, right? So they're talking about what can we do in future, SDV architecture and so on. But then on our slide, they see a feature and say, this is differentiating. Can I have this feature software only in one of my old boxes? Can you host it here, here, or here?
Yeah.
And then we say, yes, I can host it here, software porting. New module, what's coming out maybe in 6 years, software porting. So I do not only have software porting in the future perspective, I even have it right now. That's why we have to see that there are certain software porting things running in parallel, not only the new platform every 6 years, even in between I have software portings, because as I said, that's why I made the slide with my software asset. People coming for GMs with, this is my software asset.
Yeah, I know.
What do you want? It's like a portfolio. It's my portfolio. What would you like to have?
Yeah.
But I would like to have this one.
Here's the buffet.
And in the perfect world, and maybe we get there, then you can really take everything, like this one from here, this one from here, this one from here, put it all together, and it will work in terms of safety, homologation, and blah blah. Sometimes even maybe just even comfort features. I can also imagine even within level 3 and so on, there might be add-ons for comfort features only. So or things that might not require homologation, or things that you can maybe roll out over shadow modes, and homologation maybe gets with that so much cheaper. I think there may be other methods just to get the effort low to bring in, let's say, improvements. That's why I think software porting is all over the place. It's for a software company, and ADAS is just pure software. We have these damn dependencies to hardware.
Yeah.
I would love to have no dependencies at all. I would love to have this big Windows PC.
You cannot have a hardware agnostic software for automotive.
That's the point. But we can maybe try to reduce the risk and to make our life easier, that the sunk costs for pure porting are becoming lower. I think this was initially also the idea of AutoSAR. If AutoSAR have hit the nail, we can debate this. I have my different perspective on it, but at least there was at least within one OEM, if they are fully committed to AutoSAR, yes, it's pretty easy even to port software. But this is something even for the high-end HPC software, we need similar things, and I think there the gap is just bigger and it's more complicated. I agree.
So I'll give you an example. When I was at Intel, Bart was also there at that same time. Tesla was almost. So luckily, Intel had a great support for the developer history, x86 architecture. Even though with Apollo Lake, the Model 3 has the Apollo Lake in there for Intel. Can't even imagine the pain to basically, go through this automotive right, as we said. But it took so much of effort from Intel to support demands from Tesla. There's no tier one direct, right? Even though their whole team is working on we have to find people trying to support that, right? It's not that easy. It's huge effort that goes in. And towards the end, multi-OS support, I remember Apollo had GHS, Linux, Linux, QNX, hypervisor, Android, working with everyone. Every OS support. Ultimately, Intel had to put in 4,000 software guys total.
To port those operating systems.
To make that whole chip for multi-OS support like that. Linux, QNX, GHS, as well as the hypervisor. And that too is not deep involvement. Google involved all the time for Android. BlackBerry, then the Green Hills guys, because Porsche was with Green Hills. They're very famous for that. And then Linux, Tesla. Nobody else was doing that. So, come on, that scale, only possibility is big companies can do that kind of stuff. Have the resources for the competence available.
And yet all of those 1,000 people, right, are not really value add necessarily to the end user, because they just.
Yeah, because that was the first part of it.
Yeah.
Is going in. Think Intel was, I don't know, if you think as a tier one, right? With Tesla. Intel was the tier one with Tesla. That would put in so much of the effort to support one customer to go in. And then the customer has put their whole resources on top of it.
In this case, Intel was doing the software work for porting or building the chip.
The Linux DSP side, you have to have that support.
And so doing the DSPs for Green Hills, the next.
Or everything.
All of them, basically, Android, yeah.
And all the audio drivers, all the drivers for Android is. All the QNX, direct QNX.
When was it? Which year was that?
Oh, I was there like, I think that 2018, I worked on this one, whole program, me and Bart, 2016. Bosch was one of the kids.
Okay.
But I would say that
As a
if
customer.
we look at this question, then new SoC from new vendors, say rarely or sometimes, because remember, you went from SmartCam to HPC on Fisker.
Yeah.
You changed.
I just changed without.
To.
Yeah.
So is it rarely or is it sometimes?
It's a rare,
Rarely? Okay.
sometimes experimental.
I would also say, because this is also what we see, right? This kind of a Qualcomm login or
Yeah.
NVIDIA login or mobile login or Umbrella login, whatever.
Yeah.
And then they stay there for the next, my feeling is 20 years.
No, fine.
Well, maybe as a tier one, I'm seeing it sometimes, not rarely, because I
Yeah.
have to work
Yeah.
with Audi. I have to work with the big three. I have to work with the Japanese. They all like
Then you have
somebody
to work
different.
with Cardian.
Okay, all right, new.
Don't get me
SoC
started.
with the existing SoC family, for example, different peripherals, different compute power, accelerators, bandwidth for features.
Yes,
You do that frequently or rarely?
no, sometimes.
What was this one here or last one?
This one, see, successor SoC from incumbent, right? You're talking about
Yeah.
this one? Sometimes, you know why? You see a lot of failures in radar, man. I don't know why.
Radar what?
Radars in the field after a long run. We are seeing radar failures.
From
I think
sensor.
that means like moving from NVIDIA Orin to Thor or something like that, right?
No, oh, this one is separate. Sorry, it's not like, it's the main processor you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yes, or
Okay.
the main
Yes.
host of your software. Yeah.
So that would be from Orin to Thor, right?
Yeah,
Third one?
sometimes, depending on price.
Yeah.
Is that a smart radar you were thinking or a dumb radar?
No,
It's not that
Smart.
smart radar.
The reliability.
And is that because of the SoC?
Oh,
On
it's
the
very
radar?
complex. I'll tell you the complexity.
Radar and LiDAR all have their own smarts, right? They don't rely on.
Because of the reliability issue is not only depending, because the problem is that for 4G radar, the we have used is very complex. It's like almost replacing LiDAR with the data point, right? So the depth perception is supposed to compete with LiDARs. But we are seeing, because it's like all the time running, right? The case over, or sometimes it's the data down, if there's not enough memory allocated to save data or the override, it constantly does it like every second, right? And don't know why it heats up sometimes, and then there's no way to cool it off because you cannot switch off a radar like that. And then it reaches to the temperature to the point where it shuts down until the next time you restart the car after you.
Because of a high density, high level of
density,
integration,
yes.
so it's be what.
Yeah, I know that you are working on it, right? Hopefully you can solve that. The software putting into new software. This happens very frequently, actually, by the way. Software, this happens very frequently, hardware not that frequently. Because what happens is that depending on customer expectation and improvement ideas or suggestion, they try to squeeze in new software, but then they figure out, oh shit, we ran out of memory, cannot do it. That's when the decision comes, maybe we should change, not change the whole thing, maybe in the board add more. That's the frequent decision that has.
So as a tier one, how would we rate that last one? The software porting into new software environment.
If I just look back to the previous history for us, it was just rarely, because to be honest, we're still selling systems quite often. Or we are the main, or we do even middleware and application layer on the SOC. And then for me, it's more like here in this area here. I mean, this one was interesting with the memory. I just forgot about that because this is definitely something what we even have when we have this kind of how do you call it here every year when your design is a little bit changing in USA. Is Yeah, it's like, yeah, exactly. Where they just change a little bit, because this is usually the time where they ask then also Bosch, can you have more memory or can we have less memory? Sometimes they want to have cost savings, and exactly this is the memory in the flash is where it's very easy to tune a little bit, either to get more headroom or yes, or to get it cheaper, or sometimes discontinuation of parts and stuff like that. So and then we're talking about a lot of software to software, because then I have an incumbent software system. I have to add new functions. That's why I fully understand that. For us, it's more in the past was more rarely. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. So that's why for me as a tier one situation, usually we deal here. So it would be here sometimes. So this would be this typical, at least Bosch tier one.
But this software porting, this is now just like, oh shit, we could not make it happen at launch time. We have to make one, like it's constant flow.
Yes, but here it's more like that we have to, this means more the software supplier A into software environment of OEM or supplier B means you have already running software, you do whatever, and then you ask me to give you one piece of my software. But now I take my software out of context and just give you maybe a small function, a component, a whatsoever. So now I have to make it work in your environment. So I have to adapt to your tools, to your verification, validation framework, and so on. That's why it's kind of
happens not
complex.
in ADAS, it happens in info.
I guess also in ADAS it might going to happen as well, because the question is ADAS is becoming so complex, and the question is if a single vendor, if it's a single supplier can do it.
Companies don't want to pay any more. If you touch anything with homologate, don't touch it. It's certified. I have no time. I have to go and spend millions more to re-homologate.
But how does Tesla do it then if they're doing an update to the fleet almost every 2 weeks?
Oh, you know what has happened? They didn't care before. Our European Union has put in a slab.
When I hear that,
They put in a slab that every feature that they have to talk for either homologation or re-homologation. Every 2 weeks, whenever you see a software coming, in Europe, I do not know they're pushing to Europe because they have to homologate everything, then have the package ready for homologation. They have put it, they got a fine, put in an order in Europe. But in US, it's Wild West.
Like any given day I wake up, I'm not too sure what my HMI is gonna look like today. I'm just find a button.
Yeah.
And I understand the same that in China, they're not certifying anymore, but the software's changing.
the only question is if you really want to have it. So I'm already kind of concerned if Apple gives me all the updates, because it gives me the feeling that I have a cheap product because they have constantly fixing something. So I would rather say just ship me only once a month a software, but therefore I have the feeling that I have a high quality product. To fix something every other day doesn't provide, at least for me as a person, the feeling that I have a good product. For me, it's more like, oh, it was cheap. We have done it fast. We have not tested properly. That's why I have to do software so often. So yes, we have the capability to do a lot of software changes, but it doesn't create a lot of trust in this kind of a brand, at least in my perspective. That's why I do not like what Apple is doing. Every other day, some bug fixes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it happened to my wife because she has the Tesla and she got an update. I think they changed the UX UI, like they changed some of the, and she was on the highway drive. Oh, I can't find the wiper. Where is it? Like, you know, I don't know what happened.
It's time to me.
It's like.
You see,
Okay, but maybe we understand then from the OEM, maybe if we could continue to next.
embedded software as a cost driver. So the big question is it for you at all? A new perspective is supporting
level software. I'm talking about BSP side or
BSP packages,
device drivers and all.
middleware. So I think only every 6 years it matters to you.
We don't touch it because the worst thing can happen at that moment. After it's done. Anything can break. Low level, people get very
Not every given.
Yeah, you can say sometimes it has to happen.
Well, before you do it, number 9, could we ask Neil about number 8 and number 9? So then if you don't do it very often, number 8, is it less than 10 person years or 10 to 20 per?
If I in percentage, oh shit. It's more than 50, man. You know why? If I do that, I have to validate, which means that I have to start driving and do data collection back again on the road, along with drivers, along with all the data capturing equipment. I collect and store the data, analyze the data, run through it and sell it. So the validation side, if it has any impact on homologation, I have to millions.
So then the next question, number 9, is, so then how does your organization currently address this cost driver? So it sounds like you just put a lot of effort in.
Already put in a lot of effort in architecture, and it's my I cannot really expose this. I'm giving it to you guys. If I'm kicked out after this, then I'm free to do whatever I want. But they've addressed a lot of stuff. It has already been done, addressing some of the architecture trends. Others, the software side has become much more modular approach. So you see that, right? If suppose one of the features are causing a lot of pain, they do a kind of a remote switch off to the flag. They have a feature flag in the cloud. So if there is a problem happening with one of the features, we can turn off features all the time. There's a whole architecture behind it. The cloud connectivity gives a huge amount of limitless possibility. We have given access to the service technicians. If a customer calls in with a report with a new feature, you will put in the ticket and say, okay, we are turning off this feature for now while we investigate the data that is collected from the car. We'll let you know what is the real problem. If we will call you into with your car person.
I guess the question would be then, number 10, how would you like the industry to address challenges associated with boarding low-level software?
This is
I mean,
modularity of software is very critical. Feature on-off approach, very important, and that falls back into the modular approach, right? Then the other one is there's one thing, this redundancy, this ASL, USA and all. If you talk to any OEM guy, they're responsible, like any executive, they hate USA. Totally get it.
We all do, but
You know?
we all do.
Yeah, I know.
So, but it's like I also hate the speed limit 30 miles per hour sometimes.
Yeah.
But what should I do, right? So
I'll
it's
tell you, this is a funny
it's a rule.
thing. In reality, how it works. USA consultants especially are employed because they come in as a third party independent vendor. They give their suggestions. We decide how to implement and what to choose and what not to choose. If I am signing off at the end with engineering sign off, I'm the person responsible to sign off. I never sit in any CUDA because I don't have any information about it. I never sit in any CUDA. I don't get invited by my team as well. I don't. And nobody puts a Jira ticket and say, this is very dangerous if we don't implement this way, that way. Any word like that is all liability. So I don't sit in any CUDA meetings. I don't care about CUDA. So for me, it's like that. And it is true for every module owners in every different. And that's the problem. the FUSA has become such a thing that safety, what do you mean by safety? You know what? Go to the web and see the initially when this corrosion was launched, people were preaching about so many pop-up messages. You know what happened? We became very good, had FUSA consultants come in, gave our FUSA strategy, and we landed up giving too much information to customer, and the customer is pissed. You know, FUSA, we have to give to the customer. Radar is not working, camera is not working, or hey, by the way, it was supposed to be 300 meters. We are supposed to detect something. We did not detect because it could be environmental reason or whatever. Does not mean that the car is crashing. But it becomes so much that the customer, you see the YouTube, it pops up like this. Then we gave a software upgrade to software for all the stupid messages. It became like, if I have to rely on FUSA consultants, so they tell me to do this, and the founders were so angry. If FUSA guys entered our room, we cannot even sell one car. Get out, I don't want a horrible fight. So as an example, FUSA, I think we need a deeper dive into industry level. That's what you asked me. Software.
Possibility to do that because I
But
spent
this becomes
a
like
tremendous amount of time into FUSA and level 3 architectures and so on.
Do you like it?
I don't like the approaches of let me say it. I like the topic a lot.
Yeah.
I don't like the way how the industry is approaching it because the only industry approach at this point in time is extremely costly, extremely, let's say, document prone,
Yeah.
and a lot of talkative. I'm interested in what do I have to do?
Yeah.
Give me pragmatic solutions and not solutions where I have to build in 3 different SOCs at the same time and develop my software 3 times a different way just to avoid common causes and so on. There must be a more clever solution. And I know there are some companies out there, I would put names out here, but there are chip vendors out there who understood even our concerns, and they have baked our concerns into the chip design, and they made it so much easier to overcome all the safety issues. Yeah.
Okay. Real life example. Intel Apollo Lake chip, when it started that we will do the automotive version, Intel had no option but to acquire a company called Yogitech in Italy. The CEO of that company is now the VP of functional safety at NVIDIA. Okay. So we acquired Yogitech to help us implement the FUSA strategy based on the, take it over with the automotive grade. Ultimately, what happened after acquisition, for everything, the spreadsheet, huge spreadsheet, okay, and they came back, it looked like that we have to do a full reskin of a new chip to meet all this. Ultimately, it all boiled down to compromise. Okay, now it's okay, we will do this workaround, that workaround. Everything became a workaround. But we launched the product. The 2018, I remember, Apollo Lake went into so many different products. I physically saw the infotainment. Just the same chip, I was the program director for it. So, how many years passed? It's still working.
This was ASIL-D or D?
Forget about it. Is there anything that is ASIL-D at this market now? Which one?
Our steering or braking.
Oh, no, braking.
Steering, braking is separate.
That's a given.
So yeah, our level 3 architectures, yes, they are ASIL-D compliant. Yeah, no.
It's an 8 font.
So
Write up that is written. I haven't seen ASIL.
yes.
I haven't seen ASIL.
So I don't have to do a pure ASIL-D. Right? I can no. 2 times B is a D,
Yeah,
right?
that's
So
what I'm saying.
decomposition. Yeah, but decomposition. No. Why is this a workaround? Decomposition is allowed, and there's a certain description why decomposition is allowed, right? And you have to do decomposition correct. If you just copy 2 times the same software with common causes and call it a B from D, then I just laugh about it and then done, right? It's not gonna work because this is the ASLD compliance I see in the industry right now. Just it's 2 times the same chip, 2 times the same software, and then we say, oh, B from D, now it's D. No, it's not. So
It's the same at sport level, right? Just equal lockstep.
It's horrible.
you don't address common causes. So and ZOTIF is also not addressed.
B is mostly used. D is for wash breaking till plus okay.
You cannot achieve it on software level. Even for this high-end software, HPCs, autonomous driving software, you will never achieve ASLD on your software level because this would mean that you have understood your software. Even to understand all the use cases.
Yeah.
Who should sign that I understood all the use cases of driving in unstructured world? I won't sign that because I don't know. What I know is I can monitor my driving, and if I see an issue, I can stop my function, I can drop my function, I have my ODD observations, I can do my shadow modes, whatever. I can do everything what I can. I can ensure that my car won't kill someone, but won't with an asterisk, because even there, it's a certain percentage behind it, and the percentage just needs to be as low as possible, or let me say below a certain threshold from safety. And then there's another threshold, the overall market, let's say, expectation that is way lower than what safety is telling us. Because as you said, once you kill a person with your car, people going crazy, even if maybe the rate, yeah, it's a second level issue, because even if the numbers of dead people on roads are even higher, even if you can confirm that with your robot system you kill less persons, it doesn't matter. As soon as you kill one, you have an issue. So that's why you have to be so much better than what safety is telling you.
So you understand, right? You said there's 2 B's, D. That's all the workaround. It's like frustrating. If you go to any meeting, like if I hear functional safety and people talking, if I look at it, if I have to do all this, I cannot even make a picture. I cannot even launch a car. I cannot even do anything.
And it may be the incentives are misaligned, but if this is a third party doing this, then they get paid to look like they're doing work.
Yeah.
And their work is to say, oh, not.
But there is a reason why we get the third party, you know that? There's a problem and we implemented what the third party said. They told us, we don't know. They told us and we did. But then after effect of the third party, is that we stopped customers. Because we didn't hear our own voice. We just tried to implement because,
To check the box.
Yeah.
Versus what your customer expects.
And I found out that customers were switching off features because we have that option in the ocean. You can switch off, right? We had to give it to enable, not in Europe. Europe, you cannot do like that at startup. But here in the US, we had to give because people, I don't like this, I don't want this, why, I don't want to use the feature because it's annoying.
Like the front.
And because of homologation, that there has been a chime requirement is there. The visual warning requirement is there. And it has to follow that the warning and the chime has to be aligned. There's no second mismatch of what you hear and see. Can you see the latency work that has to go through to make sure it happens? Oh my God.
I know
I'm going to leave automotive. I'm to go back and do some cloud bullshit or enter AI or something like that.
I know it very well, because as soon as you engage your reverse gear, you have a certain limit, time limit until you have to present your rear view screen. And yes, and
Right,
if your car is at sleep and you have to wake up your car, you need this early wake up mode in Linux, because Linux tells you, oh, I wake up in 3 seconds, and saying, oh my gosh, I need in 700 milliseconds.
What's the solution for that?
So.
The whole car is on standby mode. The infotainment is on standby.
Electric vehicles, okay.
Yeah, because we are, yeah.
So we implemented an early start Linux mode with a 2-stage boot approach, where we just boot part of Linux, just to give us enough enough capabilities to show something. And you even see it even nowadays. I have seen it in Hyundai cars. For instance, they don't show any overlays anymore. They just bring the video in. Yeah.
The backup camera.
Yeah. But you see it, they only bring it, the Hyundai cars bring it sometimes without overlays, without any menu, just a picture, and then a few seconds later, then they start the entire menu and stuff like that. They also go to this multi-stage approach, but we did it already in 2013.
I know.
Mm.
For these
Oh my God, it's such a
Um,
liability.
Yeah, this is the more interesting part. At least for the hardcore people for autonomous driving, this is the part where we used then a transformation of CUDA software, for instance. So accelerator software, we use hardware accelerated stuff. So CUDA, OpenCL, OpenVX, ISP image pipeline, image transformation warping. So every time where you won't use your standard CPU, and you have to convert it. I do not talk about AI at this point because this is the next section. We only talk about whatever is hardware accelerated, because there we see the biggest dependencies to your hardware. As I said earlier, go TI, you will hear the word Eve. You go to Renesas, it's something else. If you go to NVIDIA, it's CUDA. It's
Everything is different. This ISP one is very interesting. After launching the car, we did have to do a little bit of more tuning of ISP and do a new update. Because we found out that during bad weather condition, with no reflection, snow.
Yeah.
The performance was degrading the car. Then we had to have a new tuning data set. Yeah.
all right, but this is then really pain. This is really pain, right? If you have to then requalify your perception algorithms.
Because the feature when it was homologated, it did not, the ISP link does not go to the core, just it's on the, I'm talking of mobile line.
Yeah.
And it was bad because of the reflective material used on the windshield. On top of.
Oh, yeah, we are well aware of that. Yeah, it's twilight artifacts and all this kind of bouncing light.
Best company, Rajin has the best job.
Who?
Rajin. He has the best job. He's happy. Look at him. I'm so depressed. I'm giving all negative. I'm giving all negative feedback.
That's very, very useful. No,
Yeah, but I guess as an OEM,
talk more about it.
No, I'm not touching anywhere. I'm doing anymore. I'm done with Kuda. Relevance? Okay.
yeah, but as an OEM, we do.
It is very much relevant. Because I have to keep an eye out on everything. While you launch the car also, I'm keeping the data on cloud. I'm seeing what are the faults and failures I have to take the data down. Because we cannot pay Amazon forever. So every month by the time we have this crawling, data crawler that does in, looks at all the abnormalities, and I get a report out.
But in terms of software porting, I think as OEM, you won't port then your in-vehicle software to something else, right? So that's why I tend to say not applicable. So yes, you have to monitor it and you have to have a good system, but I think
Not.
you won't port it to any other chip, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
that one, yeah, that
Yeah.
one was done. That has to be done because it's a not porting, but it's a full stack. That's different.
Okay, all right,
So-
then next. And how do you answer the survey? So what happened was that, the disker that you guys saw outside, that was not the HPC, right? I went with Neil to go see the HPC one in the Pony garage. But now it takes out, to your point, takes out the smart camera. We call it dummy camera, slim camera.
I showed the picture, right? All the cameras were separate because those are all dummy cameras. And radars, new radar and dummy radar, so to say, like very low end. Yeah, low end radar. And everything goes in the central.
But the central or is the ISP in the central compute the same compute as it was in the smart camera? So is it the
No.
let's say Qualcomm chip here and
The
Qualcomm
ISP is
chip?
directly in that central compute because the dummy camera is giving the raw feed.
Yeah.
Did you take the chip? the mobile chip?
No.
Okay, this is a
No,
question.
no,
Okay,
you cannot
okay,
do
and
that.
then someone needs to do this kind of software transfer because they either it's done by the camera vendor or it's done by the guy who doing the perception software, and let's assume perception software would come from us, right? So even then we have to qualify the camera, then we have our own software, how to tune the ISP, but we have maybe we have it done on, let's say, Renesas, and now you're coming with NVIDIA, for instance. Yes, we would have to port it. Huh?
But
But
I was really surprised with that work, that the features and all were so amazing, much better than what we launched with when we did with high-end HPC. But that was like a POC. It's not a production variant. Once I go into production with this liquid cooling, I don't know what kind of work I have to do more to fix things. That's a different story. But the feature sets and all with the existing DVC file, we made some tweaks with the picking and all because we had control. That's why. And the main is the DVC file that does the handling.
Yeah, that's the can. But that was after shipping the first release.
No, we did this one on the side.
Yeah, this was just a POC. On the-
Yeah, this one is not
That's why
published
it's-
anywhere. I gave a sneak.
I got it.
Yeah.
Special. But I guess maybe the answer is rarely,
Really.
right? You only did it once and you never go back to the smart cam. No. Just move one time.
I can do more time to HPC provided I can do a temporary validation phase with the hardware side because I want to put it in the EMC chamber and see how it is. Or, so I can start bringing in the improvements necessary for design fixes.
Versus I think that tier one, we're probably more like sometimes, because I gotta deal with so many people
I
in
know,
different
yeah.
stages of moving from distributed.
Yeah.
Architecture to something. How
But-
difficult was it?
yeah, but anyway, you would outsource this task, right? So the question is,
No.
was it really difficult for you because you haven't tuned your ISP or your hardware accelerators, right? The guy, whoever have provided the software on the HPC, they have done it. So the question is, how hard was it then for the VM?
But I think the thing was,
So beside of paying someone, what was on your end? What kind of
not paying,
effort?
it was a big work on our side too, because of all the tweaking we needed to do for UPC file updates and sometimes working with the tier one to say, hey, give me a site drop, because we're working on a POC. But they did it. It was not a big, because that DVC, if you make a change, every tier one gets an update. They have to work on it, make a new software drop based on the new DVC update. So we had to do a little bit more work from our side. But I think it's a 50-50 share of it.
I would say that. It's something in the
Mostly
middle.
it's on the tier one.
What would you say on your side, you're 30 to 50 person years or more than 50 person?
Nah, not that much.
I think below 10, right?
Yeah.
Changing DVC is having
No,
tons
not
of
just DVC only. But also
tons of frustrating calls
Yeah,
with your suppliers.
But it's 10, less than 10 from the OEM
Yeah.
side. But the hand holding goes with
Yeah.
the tier one mostly because that's
Yeah.
a big chunk of work.
Yeah.
That's why the
But same topic, may I ask you what was the motivation to go from smart camera to
Oh,
significant?
one of the biggest one was I already saw the effort because before any OEM launch a new car, insurance company, you have to insure your car by the customers. We have to give them significant information to make an analysis that how much is the car insurable? Is the car sellable? Is the car serviceable? If the car is like this, right? So we had to do that. And then came that story that the insurance company, I forgot the name of that company. They are like a central agency and then they give it to the other insurance company. So they make an analysis that they have seen because of high-end cars, the biggest chunk of money wastage is not about accidents anymore. It's mostly this stupid windshield repairs. Windshield repair, like if hit and there's a crack, and I have a high-end car, I don't want a crack in my shield. I want to change it, and I claim. I get 2 times a year claim in the US normally, right? From your copay or $100 or whatever it is, but it lands up to be even more because you have to change the whole thing, including the front camera.
Yeah, they feel.
You understand? So if it is now the dummy camera, which is like $5, then $5, $10, and then the windshield is also. So that can be done by stealing set light.
The same guy.
The same guy moves the camera. They take the windshield off, they leave the rest in.
Oh no, this one is also like nowadays. The windshield and the smart and the mobile Wi-Fi is all stuck together.
Okay.
You know why?
My.
Okay, so when you manufacture, the calibration of the camera is adjusted based on the shape of the windshield, one part of it, the reflective material used in the manufacturing process. So that's why it is stuck together. If you don't do it,
The calibration cost was $1,000 for me.
oh, was it? They charge you 1,000?
Yeah,
Like 300 to 600.
There's a lot on your mind.
yeah,
Which car?
VW,
Oh, the
Atlas.
oh wow.
So it was like,
The Subaru's 1,000.
yeah, I mean, and then, it was a huge chunk of the overall cost. It was just the calibrate, they call it the Bosch calibration, by the way. Because we supply the tools for the calibration.
Staff discount?
No, we don't get a discount there.
So that's the reason why using a dummy camera is also good for after sales.
So,
And service.
Yeah,
And
but-
insurance.
The same logic could hold for radar. Other than.
No, radars are like how much? Either you
No,
crash your car or something. That's different. Then you have to do the body work, and that's radar part piece is peanuts compared to the body work. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in the case of putting a dumb camera, don't you still have to recalibrate the camera based on how the mount?
Yes,
But
you still have to, yeah.
But it's much cheaper.
The
Like there's
camera is
nothing.
cheaper, not the recalibration process.
No, you can do self-calibration.
Okay.
You don't have to go through that whole thing. After you drive a little bit, it will self-calibrate.
Or if the guy is coming, so like Greg was saying, if the guy has to come and redo the
Find
whole
a
windshield
good thing.
with the smart camera, then they have to drive around 10 minutes if you're lucky, which is great. An hour if you're not lucky, which might have been all over. But they're really driving around. Now, if you use the dumb camera, then you use these targets, these black and white targets at the workshop, at the garage. They can calibrate much more, it's called intrinsic calibration, rather than the safe light man has to go take your car and drive.
That's very just, grad school days in the lab, I was calibrating cameras, so I know how, you put, and that seems like a very static calibration.
The surround view camera calibration is much more costlier because you need to have a mat.
Camera?
Calibration
See the
mats
picture,
around, right? Surround view
I
camera
don't
is
see the
separate.
picture, but
That's another
again,
story.
it has to be calibrated
So,
for whatever detection.
But then,
It was in the shop, so
then
it
why
didn't
would
drive
you
around. It's a static test. You parked it in the
That's-
garage, you put this targets up. it's-
What is, what is okay, right? Extrinsic, static calibration, all the rest is done online. Because you just need to be in this window of ±3 degrees.
There's no.
Then,
Cable.
an hour later, hour and a half, I got the car back.
Just about a can.
And maybe, I don't know, we have to ask Greg, was your safe light where they came to you?
No, it's just the local dude.
The neighbor.
oh, you got the hack version of the software.
Does this company has a website or?
I did it with
same place.
Just the mobile phone.
And then they canceled, they called up, oh, we're gonna confirm your appointment at 9 AM. I said, okay, I'll go at 9 AM. And then they called back an hour later, oh, we can't do it because we don't have blah, blah, blah. And after waiting a month to get in there, they canceled my appointment. So I called some local guy and he just came up. Did it? Said, hey. Yeah, it's done. No, he put a real clean windshield in and everything. He's just the local.
But which car?
Brand new Honda Accord.
Okay.
But if you want to make it cheap, only have one variant of windshields because this is what is driving ED&T. In our location, if you have too many different windshields, because we have to test each and every one. And we have to order one. And then in the past, we shipped the entire windshield to our test center in Hungary. Now the windshield providers, they know that they cut it out for us, that we only have to ship this size, right? No, back in the days, we had a large warehouse full of windshields.
I know. It's different, right?
So I think whenever you need something, we might have it.
The other part is that I do not know. Have you guys ever had the experience of seeing a end of line calibration in the factory?
Yeah. We even built it, right? Like,
Yeah.
we built it.
Well, I've done multiple, yeah. I used to do it myself. I'd take the targets on the garage and
Now with this whole
measure
high-end
tape,
stuff,
it'd take
right?
like
It's
a
all
whole
fixed.
day to set up the,
You know,
for 5 seconds.
now it's all fixed.
Yeah.
So the surround view camera calibration, the mat is all fixed on the
Yeah.
board. And then they have this balancing the cart. If you pull it in and it balances, like it goes into position according to which car. And then you start with the calibration. Then the radar, it comes in like that. You know what? It has to be done within 6 seconds, otherwise it will be backed up.
Okay, so did we finish this?
The question is,
Because tier one-
how does the organization currently address the cost driver? I think,
By going back up.
Just tier one, tier one.
Chapter
left.
11.
But this is the DSP kind of question, right? Like.
yeah.
So
So
you did say that you did some ISP recalibration, but that was for the cameras.
Yeah.
The smart cameras.
Yes.
because if you swap cameras and if you swap the ISPs, you have to retune certain things,
We
right?
have to
So
do that before even like. We have to remodel it again.
and you can only do it if you would have a nice software model of your ISP, and you can simulate everything. Now you can go out and you will find tons of vendors who promise you that they can do it.
Mobile was very nice. They sent the guy over to Spain, and while the testing was done, they were able to keep it back. They have their own internal tools.
Yeah.
They don't give access to anybody else.
But is there anything that you think of that the industry could do to make especially this camera swapping, ISP swapping easier?
I don't know if I think it all depends. Like every OEM is different, every problem is different, and every solution comes out to be different. So I don't know if there is any standard way of doing it.
Now, Mobile is standardizing it, right? So at least Mobile is giving you very clear directions, how the camera should look like, how the optical path should look like. I think this is already a way towards lowering the cost. If they would have to support each and every optical design, it won't work. Huh? So at least this is already something what the industry is doing, a standardization of optical path, right? Even if this is not the answer to everything, but
Software tools, and then they're not fast enough, the development is happening faster than the tool, so then the engineers make their own homegrown tools that nobody's supporting, and then moving.
Okay, it has compared to infotainment, it has a lot of different other problems. You have the hill, you have the car maker to put in the model. Then you have to connect. then all the software that runs it, and then you have to do the simulation. You have to do the first simulation with tweaking the speed limit separate. Or moving it, see the sensor, okay. Then you go to the road and do the data collection. Interpret tools, or all this other canalizer and the whole car is loaded with so many tools and different versions of software, and everyone needs licensing. Everything has to be licensed with that laptop. So it's not a floating license, it's tied to a certain device. Oh, another multiple billions of dollars gone down the drain. But this company is doing amazing work. I'm trying to bring them with us. Good, the applied inclusion. I know the CEO very well. He's raising money every 6 months, 500 million, 600 million. I don't know what they're doing, but they have done amazing work. All this simulation you don't have to do. I'm more worried about synthetic data simulation. That does not give a good reflection of real life. But they have done amazing work so far. If you have seen the demo or part of it,
Maybe they can join AVCC.
that's what like.
Part of the bench.
You should check them out.
We know them.
They're your,
I can't say more about that.
They're your supplier already?
I can't say anything about it.
Oh,
Maybe, maybe not.
yeah.
Who knows it?
I know Kasal very well.
Okay, porting and retraining of AI networks.
Yes, so that one more.
This is something what you would do as an OEM. Not really, right? It's more what will happen on you end is maybe validation, what I mentioned earlier. So whenever I retrained or I don't know, even I don't know how Tesla is doing it, or let's phrase it like this. In the new modern software world, what we will do is every day you could have a new model. Doesn't make sense, right? So at least I think you will only deploy a new model if you either fix the corner case or if you have improved the KPIs up to a significant level, just to avoid just pushing too often software. But then the question is, do you really have the need for dedicated validation? Because I think nowadays Tesla's doing the same. The validation concept will be more to deploy the software in kind of a shadow mode to the cars and just see if this software is causing any kind of damage. And after we have driven a certain amount of miles, then we assume, yes, seems to be valid. And then we come to our rollout strategy to alpha release, beta release, and so on, right? So I think that's what the question is: how much real effort do you really have in future with if we update our AI inside our existing chips? So is it really a manual process, or is it still a manual process? I think some cars maybe on the road will be driven by test drivers, I guess so, but I think it's more like the smoke test kind of stuff. Yeah, but you cannot even do a quantitative test because you're not able, with a few drivers, you're not capable, with a few test drivers that are deployed in your company. You're not able to drive millions of miles.
No,
you have to use your fleets, existing fleets.
There's a solution. You run through your software, let it run couple of weeks, 24/7. You're getting relevant data from there, one point. Then the other one is while it is running, you're running on the road too. You cannot do millions of miles, but you can at least make a reference point, or you know what are the change points. And based on the change points, you pick up the test cases that you can run through the hill. That's the only faster way to do it. Otherwise, or do like Tesla, push the software nobody knows, collect all the data, then you do the real OTR.
To be honest, if you have a real shadow mode, I think I personally believe that's the only way how to do it fast and cheap is you push your software just to a car and test in the car in the real environment, because even Tesla is capable, at least in the USA, if they push the software to add each and every car in shadow mode, they are capable of achieving 1 million miles within 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, they have 1 million miles, and the statistics are telling us if you have driven 1 million miles, there will be at least one corner case. And if the software hasn't, let's say, pushed any issue back to your cloud, you can assume that you are safe to deploy your software. But even then, you just deploy to the people around your factory, and then only to the tech nerds, and then to all of the people, right? So there's still a staggered deployment process. So because
I think that this question can be very broad. I don't know. It's like, even after launching the car, we keep on driving the cars, want to find more issues, right?
yeah, what means we driving the cars? I hope that your end customers driving the cars, because your abilities are limited, because you
So
can.
end customers are driving the car, but we are also driving the same car, same software, launch software, and keep on collecting data. We don't stop. We cannot stop because we want to. Liability is so bad, like big, that you start.
What means collecting data? So I think there's a certain point in development process, right, where you start with brute force data collection, and then you have to stop, because just more data is not answering any kind of question. You need dedicated things. So you will have triggers that are searching for certain events in your data, and then coming back to the fleet. So hopefully you have a big enough fleet to capture all of that.
Yeah.
If you don't have it, yes, for sure, then you have to use your own. Let's say you need your own drivers, you need your own cars, but hopefully this is not needed. It's just a question. If your entire fleet is too small, then yeah, you might have to get some own cars and you have to drive around. But it's more a problem of the fleet.
If you ask me, I cannot really answer this.
No problem.
I don't. I told you. Like,
So I think I have a comment or clarification. So I hear like also this idea that you're constantly retraining. I think that's what you're saying, right? You're always sort of
we're always
improving.
more data is better.
More data is
So
better.
more data is better than in that process.
Right.
When do we stop?
Right.
We don't even know.
That's what you're saying. But then shadow mode. If you were doing that, you of course need more hardware to run that, because you don't want that.
Yes.
Right. So that adds cost.
Yes.
Then create value as well.
But so much savings, because otherwise you can't validate your fleet.
Right.
How do you want to do a validation if you always have to, if you're coming back to safety, you want to fulfill safety, and if you think about what kind of failure rate you have to prove, how many private fleet cars you will have, even if you have private cars owned by your company, how do you want to ensure that you have covered the diversity of the entire world? If you just drive around your Bay Area, okay, then we can be sure that it works in the Bay Area. Does it work in Detroit at snow? Does it work in foggy, rainy situations in Florida right now? Who knows, right? That's why you need a big diversity. Otherwise, you can't do it on time. And that's why I think shadow mode or something like shadow mode, there are other opportunities to do it. Either it's in the car or in the cloud, or I don't mind, but this is the only way how you can test your software in acceptable amount of time.
There's some companies doing AI simulation, right? They're simulating it
Mm.
like Wave.
Yeah,
Doing that.
Yeah.
Doing that.
Yeah, this is coming on top, but
Yeah,
you don't know what you don't know,
That's
right?
not the norm in the industry.
You
right?
can only add in your simulation what you have learned is not working.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you would say, I'm so smart, I know all and everything. And this is usually our problem. That's why I'm just saying is you do go with brute force, plus you do your simulations, you put fire on the street, you put a cow on the street, whatever you think of, right? But this is your limitation. Your own imagination is your limitation. And then you go out in the street, you have triggers whatsoever, and then you will get out of the fleet, you will get your corner cases. You will situation where something is not working. You adapt this, hopefully automated, you create a new virtual scene where you do some augmentation, because just one scene is not enough. You need multiple scenes that your AI network is reacting on it. So you do some augmentation, but you do the augmentation based on what you have learned, but you can only do adaptation to what you have experienced. That's why we have to widen the possibility to have more experiences. This is only the fleet. This is the only chance. And it's also the way how Tesla is improving so fast because they have the what we learned today, data-centric architecture. They started with what the heck is the data I want to have, get out of my car and what I want to do with the data. And then they built everything around it because they realized very early that data will be the key. And now with new AI models, think about where they presented when Andre Carpati was talking about their multi-header CNN. 1 year later, they just said, "Oh, now we switched everything to Transformer." And a year later, they just said, "Oh, by the way, now we built our own Dojo network." And now they announced that they purchased for 300 million pre-order to NVIDIA GPUs for 300 million to order GPUs. And then we're sitting here as Bosch and saying, "Can I also have so many GPUs? Dear board, can I get 300 million?" You see, it's but they understood that data is the key, and that's why. So synthetic scenes are helpful, but these are not solving everything.
Actually, synthetic data I've seen almost like 30 to 35% variation. With synthetic data with real data. I did the calculation because I was more worried because we could submit as part of homologation amount of miles driven, simulated miles and real world miles. You understand? So they accept it. But then we have to prove that this is your failure rate and what you have done,
Exactly.
how you have done. So I was like, then I figured out like with that it does not correlate because I was on the road and there's two engineers sitting there constantly collecting data. I did cross country with the US before we launched the US homologation thing, and I did cross multiple few countries myself because I had to sign that. I didn't want to sign somebody else everything. But before I signed, I did it myself, and that's when we saw that the data variance was like 50%. That was.
What were you seeing in real life that you never
Yeah.
found in Portability simulation?
Like simulation was, I do not know the data point that was triggered, right? That was triggered in artificially. There was like 30% difference from real life. Like real life, I was able to get better data.
More edge cases?
More
edge
edge
cases.
cases.
That weird animal that runs out into the street, the weird accident that happened right in front of you.
One was very weird, like do you remember the problem with the white truck and Tesla hitting, not recognizing? It's really
Very well.
It's really true. You know, the white one was the one, and then the other one is bad weather and sun reflected. Like when you are driving with the sun is blinding, right? That's also the real problem.
Yeah.
That's why the coating is so important. It's like giving the sunscreen on the, and then the other weird ones are the night driving is horrible. Night driving, I saw the degradation of because we also used HD maps so that even though there is no traffic sign, it can fall back to the national highway. Those ones. But it's all the nighttime driving, especially in some parts of Europe, Eastern Europe. Yeah, some of the signs and all were all different compared to what HD maps was showing. Maybe they changed it or they moved it or and it was not updated. Then the HD maps and all are required because for the speed limit, you have to do 90% accuracy for homologation.
Exactly.
Right? So the speed limit sometimes, if you Mobile is very good at capturing the right speed. That's noticed that one. But the double cameras are really good. So then the other one was because there was so long stretch in highway without any sign. A driver goes into the highway knowing that's the sign we saw, so it's going to be 70%. But for the car, they don't see anything. It gives test. Yeah. So, then there's a lot of like so many variants. That's why I'm saying I'm confused.
So this is now Rajiv's question, right? So optimization of software architecture.
Here,
How many questions are there total?
I think it's just, I think it's maybe one more, or this is the last one. No, one more. Safety security is combined.
Okay, maybe that's good. We left security for you.
Yeah, but to be honest, I think as an OEM, this is kind of, or as an OEM who does not develop software, almost was taken it, right?
I mean, Tesla does their own software.
Yes, the Tesla is then not only for me a tier one, or it's a tier one and OEM at the same spot, yeah. But
I think we should ask him because all the Detroit 3 have the aspiration. Before they laid off everybody.
yeah, but there's at least one of these three is struggling with this here right now a lot. At least they have a weekly task force meetings with the chip vendor. Let's double check. Oh, we have this tooling file. Then there's verification and 4 more. I think for an OEM, it's more than the aspect of not tooling setup is all for software developers, validation, and safety security. But based on his words, I don't know how much safety they really do. Maybe concerning, but
Yeah, we have a
yeah. So at least, so no matter what this, at least, yeah, what we have to think about how we get more feedback.
Yeah.
So because this only makes sense because also we have some outliers in here for sure. So that's why we need to have a real statistic. And as I said, 8 feedbacks is not a statistic. So maybe in your closing talk you should mention that. Inform all the guys they can't get out of Bosch without having it. No, plus I think on social media, Sarah told me that we will push it, I think this week or after this kind of a conference here, to get more traction on it.
But honestly, I think everything I've done with AVCC has been that person much. So it's John, you sending it to people that you know in the industry. Volker, you know a few people, send it to them. Oliver, you know a lot of people. Now you know what the survey looks like. You can kind of help direct them.
Contacts are not in that area. More like Android software development, maybe a little bit security, body electronics.
And that's okay. Maybe there's one
Not ADAS.
sections they say not applicable, and then it says to tell them to skip that. Not everybody, very few people are gonna be able to do what Neil did, which is PowerPoint to vehicle in less than 3 years before.
Like in working some functional area, right?
So then this time to skip it.
Yeah. In terms of security, anyway, I guess there's not so much to do if I port my software, because as long as I have my HSM, And I do not have to downgrade my HSM. I'm using, let's say, an older HSM with, I have a feature in compatibility, then I have an issue. Otherwise, I should be plug and play.
Yeah, but that happens more often than you think.
Dang.
They order some old stuff, and then now we have this new security feature that we want to implement. If that doesn't work on the module you ordered.
I saw it more other way around, that even we have the latest and greatest, but then the OEM was already interviewing with Bosch or ETARS, when I just told them the next new cool stuff, what you can do with security, and they're coming back to us say, I would like to have this security. We have to tell them, yes, but the latest and greatest standard HSM implementation is not available. So what should I do? But Bosch told me, yeah, what could come in future? So this is always a little tricky when my own company is defining something that is beyond what I am able to do. So
Gotta sell too.
no, it's okay, right? It's I think everyone needs to understand there's a pre-development and then there's the current state of the art. So
Especially smaller companies, so startups, they order what is available off the shelf right now.
yeah,
And then we do a security assessment, and then they can't do the latest security features because a 5-year-old airbag module doesn't have the latest and greatest HSM on it.
is there any new legal stuff that you have to have maintain cybersecurity for a certain amount of years in Europe or USA?
They're talking about it.
Yes, the 21434, I think, and then the UN.
But it's,
Yeah.
I mean, initially, the government said, if it's safety related, you have to do it like unlimited updates, which Bob always says unlimited updates are unlimited cost.
Yeah,
So we got to do a reasonable time frame where we can support it, and then we talk to our customers and say we have like 3 tiers of long-term maintenance support. Which one do you want to take? And if they say none, we're currently investigating what do we owe them if they say nothing. So
yeah, but maybe then we have to talk about the opportunity to really to maybe even over cloud or whatever to shut down whole functions in the car after 30 years, just to say, hey, your car won't have this feature anymore. Done. We turn it
you're
off.
talking 30 years. We're talking maybe a 10-year lifespan.
Yeah, I would love this more, to be
And
honest.
if it's 10 years, I mean, if I buy a car right now, and then 5 years from now I sell it, and then in the third market it's worth nothing because all the features will be turned off.
It is what it is. But
It's not a cell phone that you can just like.
talk to the Chinese guys with their cars.
Yeah.
They change their cars every 2 or 3 years, and what they see is a very high increase of used cars that can't be sold anymore because they're using their cars as a cell phone. Because nobody even nowadays is buying an old cell phone. Whenever we buy a cell phone, we buy the newest one. And we see a big trend in China as well, because they have these all shiny, nice cars, cost almost nothing. And after 3 years, get a new one.
You can do that there, but what do you tell the guy that buys $120,000 Wagoneer? I mean, it's outside my price range.
He or she
but still.
should spend his money wiser.
About 5 minutes to go in your favorite
No.
topics.
We just came to the conclusion that the most important thing for you is safety. No, I'm just kidding. Is maybe verification validation when we port software, and then maybe safety and security. But before we talk about safety and security, because I don't want to trigger anything, let's talk about verification validation.
Outsourced anyway. We identified the fact that
Yeah.
Neil outsourced that.
Yeah, to his suppliers.
So who we outsourced it to and goes.
The cost is humongous for validation and verification.
What it does. Yeah.
It's almost equal to the R&D engineering cost. Validation is equal to 50.
But I think also this would be something for you. Is it more frequent? Because okay, with every software update, you have to do something.
And the liability is on the OEM.
And it's something what you would say it's something easy. It's just doing.
Very difficult. Because why I say You have to go for, I know Bosch is very much involved, they know that. You have to find cold climate, snow at a certain point in the year. You have to go to southern hemisphere or go to northern hemisphere. It's a lot. Airlifting, depending on the situation, airlifting the car, then going there with the team, doing the full data collection, coming back, analyzing the data, and geographically different also. Because if you do go to China, you have to do China with it. Because the roads are different.
Yeah, and then you can't send the data out.
Then China, you cannot bring the data back. It has to be hosted in China.
Yeah.
So which means that you have to have a team in China all the time. That is the wrong business.
So
It's wrong. But one good thing that mobile AI has done is very good. That their validation per country, they provide the data that what they have done and what is their error rate. Positive rate and error rate percentage, that becomes as an input. It has become almost like an industry standard, even with homologation authorities I have seen. Oh, mobile eye, okay, this is their data, oh, yeah.
but you just get a kind of a dashboard, right? You won't get the real physical data. You just get a dashboard, how much data they have used, how many miles they have driven.
Yeah, for them, it's only one part of it, right?
Yeah.
But we have to do the whole.
Yeah, but at least it's for you in terms of risk mitigation. It gives you at least a feeling, oh, they have done their homework.
Yeah.
So in this sense.
Data is key. Always use RTI for data.
Use RTI.
Stan is here, so I did a plugin.
I'm sorry, I'm reading the file.
I did your plugin.
Use RTI.
The DMV? Or the cost driver? Yeah, the cost driver.
Anything in mind what the entire industry could do to?
This one is a big one. I have ideas, but it's too much hypothetical at this moment. But I can share with you guys, it's like the data quality, the synthetic data quality needs to improve a lot somehow. I don't know who can provide that, how it can be done. I have no clue.
On tier 4 trying to address that. They're trying to address that challenge, aren't they, with their shared, they've got a shared platform.
Somewhere now, did you say tier 4?
Tier
I
4.
think they call it tower now.
Yeah. They're trying to address it, aren't they?
What
Some
do
kind
you,
of
you
shared,
want to say
shared
what,
platform.
you know, what do you use? Kavana, collective mind.
No, it's like a. I have to check that.
Do you think that'll be an industry thing?
But that's what they're trying to establish, right?
They want to
It's an open data set, right, for companies that sign up to it and share. Yeah.
And I guess that's what AVCC is doing, right? The Cognata data set. Like, okay, we just buy one Cognata data set and anybody who joins AVCC, we share that one, rather than everybody buys it.
The question is, how much accurate is Cognata?
Exactly.
Who can tell me?
Exactly, it's the point. And it's not only for validation, especially for training. Am I allowed to train on this data? And is the outcome of the training as good as if I would have the scene with my own camera? So is the reflectionness and all that kind of stuff really modeled in the right way? And because we have to avoid that that your training or your network is pick up the way how the static scene is generated. Because then we just learn a pattern and not the semantic of the scene. So-
Signing up projects. That deploy, they all deploy fleets, right, collecting camera data, and then they share that camera data between everyone else that's signed up.
Yeah.
To that platform,
That would be.
Yeah, but if you just record data again, then we have this issue of we are looking for long tail problems, because just data, I can get it easily. I need a long tail problem. I need this dancing clown in the middle of the street. I don't have it. I need this, or I've seen last time when I was on vacation, police is just putting barriers on the street, and then they have these small fire things, right? These small flames just to indicate it. It's pretty rare, right? So to record this, you will have to drive a lot. So better you simulate that. But again, therefore your simulation or your synthetic scene needs to be good enough. So
There was 2 weeks ago, somebody posted on LinkedIn about the AI hype. So some people are using AI generated data to train AI.
That's what they
It's like. What?
I use my kids and teaching.
Yeah.
That's what Wade would do, right? Yeah, what they do.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah, they're
companies
using
are
generative
doing
AI to create scenes.
Yeah.
right, to train the model, right? That's the.
Especially adding dark or rain or snow or.
Yeah.
Just right, bunch of trends and then
One is the scene generation, right? And the other is the model of the vehicle, right? Or are we?
No, the model of the vehicle can be done with the car maker.
Okay.
So that's easy. You just upload the whole CAD, it generates the whole,
Okay.
because you can also create the sunlight reflection of the correct material used for the paint, for example, But that also is not accurate, but at least somewhat.
Yeah.
So those things can be done. I think the car is not the problem, the environment.
Yes.
That you need, like you're going to the highway. Now, if you look into the car maker model, that is the hill or the hill system that they use, it looks almost like take road or take, thing, but it pops up the sign, traffic sign, or, traffic, signals or whatever you want to say. It shows up. People do those things, but the real world data is where is the problem, right? So I don't know. It's.
Yeah, or if you look to drive sim from NVIDIA, it looks very realistic, to be honest. From your personal eye perspective. From algorithm, it's a different question. The cool thing is whenever you see, whenever you don't know if this is a synthetic scene or not, just look to the cars. If all the cars are very clean, it's But this is something what I always experience. It's looks nice, and something barely you can see if this building is really real or artificial. But then you see all the cars are very clean, and synthetic scene. Yeah, I think there's a lot of investigation.
The graphics industry, because
Yeah.
they use those realistic views for gaming, creation.
Everyone is using Unreal Engine,
So,
so
I don't know. This is like a very big.
But maybe if you're aware of what you said Ford was doing, maybe we can bring that back to Stephen Miller and Casper and say, okay, maybe that's something AVCC we need to get involved in, because everybody paying for everything all the time. It's so hard. And people like Bosch don't have a fleet of 1 million vehicles, and nobody wants to give us fleet data. We have to strike these difficult deals.
But actually, the cost for the OEM is so big. They always double on the validation cost, right? Engineering development cost and validation cost. It is 50-50. It's huge.
Are you also taking FUSA in this or no?
With validation?
Yeah.
FUSA is not even in the consideration here at this moment. Because FUSA, there is a process that's developed. Like, FUSA cannot be done after the fact, right? Validation is separate. Verification, you have to do FUSA verification. Right. And then you have to do this third party who's audit, as they say, for certification as part of the line item. In one of my list, I showed you Pusa was just like a test situation. But,
I don't know, I have to read a little bit more.
because I have too much data in my head, but I can process that much. I don't have NVIDIA GPU.
But I think we're also a little bit over time, so then let's close it over here. So thanks for your participation. We will definitely share the survey.
We missed a few questions.
Submit.
Right?
Yeah, I submitted, but
Okay.
Because